Thank you. Buongiorno, merhaba, salam, grüezi miteinander, bonjour, salamat pagi. That's not European, but sounds good. So, I'm a futurist. Let me start with this. This here is our external brain. It's our second brain. When this machine moves into my brain with a direct connection, so I can use what is in here and what's on the internet directly, that's called artificial intelligence. Right? It's a machine that now knows what I look like. It knows how I speak. I'll show you in a second. It knows how to provide answers. This is completely different than the Google you know, which does not really provide answers. It provides links for you to find an answer. If I can speak to this, and I can, I'll show you in a second, and I ask a question. Why is Cyprus actually two countries? And it gives me an answer. How do I know that answer is real? How do I know it's correct? How do I know it's not run by an advertiser, who wants to sell hotel rooms? This is a very big question. How do we know that technology is actually caring for the truth? And how do we know the truth? That's a very big question. When you use Google, you find 50 links, and then Google leaves it up to you to believe what you want. But if you use ChatGPT, you ask a question, what is the best possible restaurant close by? It will give you one answer. That's different. So technology can be heaven, or it can be hell. And that's not new. A hammer can kill people. You can take a hammer and kill people, or you can build a house. We don't regulate hammers. You can buy a hammer, anybody can buy a hammer. And we shouldn't regulate hammers. But we should probably think about what we do with an artificial intelligence that has the combined processing power of all 10 billion human brains. That's a different magnitude of a tool. In 2021, right after, in the middle of COVID, more or less, I went to Lanzarote to shoot a film called The Good Future. You can watch it online at thegoodfuturefilm.com. And this film kind of kicked off my obsession, I would say, with the topic of the good future. What is a good future? And of course, the SDGs, right? That's supposed to be a good future. And the UN, supposed to be a warden of the good future. Where do we go with this? How do we build a good future? And there are big topics here. As we're moving warp drive, Star Trek-like, into the future. Now science fiction is becoming science fact. Think about this for a second. On this device here, I can make free phone calls all over the world. Very soon, I can speak in German. It will come out in Chinese. Very soon, I can buy things here, like stocks, or I can make a deal on the mobile phone. And it's not just this. It's 6 technologies that are happening at the same time. Artificial intelligence, quantum computing, nuclear fusion, synthetic biology, genetic engineering. Okay, the key question is not so much about what could go wrong here, but who's in charge? These are life-changing things. An intelligence that's like a human, as some companies have come to call it, a digital human. Right? Think about this for a second. Right? In America, where I lived 17 years, the idea of building a digital human is kind of a good thing because, in America, all technology is good. Right? We build digital humans. It could be the biggest business ever. And that's why we have OpenAI and Microsoft and Apple talking about this. But clearly, this is exponential. Here's the good part, depending on how you want to see it about education and work. We're at the takeoff point of the exponential curve. If we were at 0.01, we would double to 0.02, 0.04. It wouldn't matter. Right? We're at 4. 12 months, 8, 16, 32. We're talking about your kids, my kids, live in a world in 10 years that's 256 times as different as today. In 20 years, 1 million times as different. That's not science fiction. Uploading your brain to the internet, nuclear fusion, which is very heavily researched and funded now, also in Switzerland, where I live. Right? We're going to achieve energy independence in roughly, people say, optimistically, 15 years. That's the end of energy issues. I always say energy like Spotify. You know, we pay a flat fee and we have as much energy as we want. That could be the case in 15 years. Imagine that. That would mean end of food problem, end of water problem, end of space travel issues. Right? Free energy. 15 years. Our kids. So as we move into this future, there's 3 revolutions. The first one is obvious, the digital revolution. That's everywhere. Primarily now it's an AI, artificial intelligence revolution. I'll talk about that in a separate chapter. The sustainability revolution, which is what I call the green future. It's probably 100x of technology, but one goes with the other. So the digital revolution will make the green revolution possible and vice versa. This is the biggest change in our lifetime in the last 100 years. To go green, to use different energy, to have less pollution, this is now becoming possible. That's the good news. Scientifically, money-wise, we have the money. We're spending $6.2 trillion on fossil fuel subsidy. We would need roughly $9.5 trillion per year to switch to green futures. That isn't much of a gap, right? It's just going the wrong place. Right? So I always say we have all the tech and the tools, we just don't have the will. And that's the bottom line. We could do it, but we've decided not to actually do it. There are lots of reasons I'll discuss later. The last one is the best one, of course, for us, the purpose revolution. If you're my age, I'm 63, purpose is important, but we cared, let's be frank, about prosperity. My generation created 50% of all the CO2 emissions in the last 25 years. That's our accomplishment. My social class generates, top 10% of society, like most of us here, generates 90% of all the emissions and travel in the world, generated by 10% of the people. So now my kids and others, you know, general sort of ballpark 20 to 40, many of them are in this room, they're asking one question: what is the purpose of economy? It can't just be profit and growth, because we know where that will lead us, which is to the extinction of the human race. Ballpark 2050. 5-degree global warming, artificial general intelligence, nuclear fusion, quantum computing. It could be heaven or it could be hell. It could be heaven if we make the right decisions. This is not up to technology. It requires the purpose. And our simple purpose that my generation had is, okay, we gain things, right? That's it, that's the purpose. Talk to a 30 years old, they're saying, okay, it's going to be about other people, about the planet, about why we do things, and about prosperity. Let's be sure about this. Kids also care about prosperity, right? It's not that they don't care about that. So that's happening. So number one, mega challenge. We're going from economy to planet. That is the biggest shift in 100 years. Frankly, we didn't care much about the planet. We talked about it a lot. But now it's emergency status. Just wait for that to really happen. Every year, worse than we ever thought. Economy to planet. And this has a lot to do with education. We're going to have, the World Economic Forum said the other day, 100 million new jobs in the green economy. Every single investor around the world is looking for climate technology to invest in. Batteries, solar technology, agricultural technology, everything. That's the future. The second part that touches on education is this. We're going from humans doing routine jobs to machines doing routine jobs. Let's call it jokingly monkey work, okay? The work that we all do that is robotic, like checking facts, or looking at your financial portfolio, or maybe even driving a car to some degree. I mean, we all do this kind of work. I look at my work and say, oh, I got to read 50 PDFs that are 200 pages each. That's not really monkey work, but it's pretty close. You know, I got to read very quickly. Now I'm using technology to summarize that for me. That's the monkey doing the work for me. This is happening everywhere. This will totally impact education, because what do we do in education? Let's be honest. We download information for later. This is what robots do, right? Memory download, use it later. This is what we do in education, in most countries, except for maybe Finland, a few other places, Canada. This will not work, because now we can download and use, access any information by speaking to my wristwatch, saying, teach me how to do Java programming, build the website for me. India graduates 1 million engineers per year. What do? Half of them work for $300 a month doing work that is probably done by a robot very soon. 21 million people work in call centers. You don't think a robot can do a call center? Yeah. Yes, it can, as soon as it actually understands regular speaking, which is 2-3 years. 21 million people. Yes, if you're Gucci, you'll probably still have a call center, you know, because you can afford to have that kind of crowd. So, as we're looking here, we have the simple global shift which impacts everything from the simple Milton Friedman agenda, profit and growth, to the 4 Ps. People, planet, purpose, prosperity. I know the UN has the 5 Ps, so very much related. But this is kind of what I call the full stack economy. You know, I do a lot of work in tech. They talk about full stack software. This is the one stack, right? One stack means whatever you do, if it makes money, it's fine. Aramco, Meta, other companies like this, as long as they make money, we buy their stock. That's the old paradigm. Now, NVIDIA, the biggest company in the world, followed by Aramco, followed by Apple. Why do companies that their open intent is to kill humanity, like Aramco or OpenAI, are so revered at the stock market? I don't understand. It's like we buy their stocks so that they can turn around and use it against us, right? Makes no sense. We have to move on from this. So as we go here, it's really straightforward. We have 2 large waves, opportunities and challenges. Climate change, clearly, and artificial intelligence. Climate change, we're going to solve. I'm standing here right now saying, A, it's solvable, B, we're going to solve it, C, emergency is here. We're going to take action because emergency is here. This is what humans do. We're not very good with pre-authorizing action until it's necessary. Look at the nuclear bomb. Look at AI. This is much more complicated, because AI as a software is a pretty good business tool. But AI as a digital human, that's a whole different thing. So when we go here, then we have this development coming up and saying, okay, climate change is really quite clear. We have all the tools we need. Agricultural software, battery storage, climate fintech. Trillions of dollars are invested. Europe is a leader here for once. We're going to do this, totally. 10 years. In 10 years, maybe we can roll back climate change, the ppms, by having new technology that allows us to take it out. I mean, we're inventing stuff every week. Battery technology, 99.8% price improvement and 400% performance. Very soon you're going to have an electric car that goes 1,000 kilometers on one filling. I mean, who in their right mind would buy a regular car? Why should we allow people to buy a regular car? Right? I mean, this is basically proof that it's happening. But here's reality. Climate finance, the money we put into addressing climate change, up top corner, right? That's the measly amount we spend on climate finance. Military, twice as big. fossil fuel subsidies, 6 times as big, COVID, endlessly big, and this is what we do. So the point is, the money is there. Who decides where to spend it? The UN doesn't decide that, unfortunately. We need to change this, because the money is here. Instead of funding death, we should fund life. That would be a good change. Imagine that. And why don't we do that? Well, because the oil and gas business makes $2 billion profit every single day. That's why they show up at the COP meetings with 1,100 people, funded by that profit. You can't speak on the one hand to end climate change and to change fossil fuel, and then on the other hand, try to prolong it as long as you want. I mean, that's just plain wrong. Right? So that's something we have to look at here. Problem is, science and technology is great. It's not enough. Science will not solve our biggest problems because science and technology is morally neutral until we use it. If we build a digital human with an IQ of 1 billion, will it be friendly to us? Will we become the second most intelligent species, which means no species, really? What exactly will happen here? What we need is telos. We're in a Greek country, so telos is very fitting. Wisdom. We need to think about this, and of course this is the role of people in this room and the UN in general. We need to think about our wisdom and making the right decisions. In my last book, Technology versus Humanity, I've spoken about the need for a digital ethics council, a council of the wise people, like Aristotle, to speak about what exactly do we do with this? How do we make sure we use technology in the right way and minimize the consequences? With climate change, how do we get there? The industrial economy required fuel. We had the fuel, we burned the fuel, and we said, okay, we need the fuel. Never mind what happens on the other end. That's what we did. It's just business, right? Now we end up with 5 degrees global warming, 5 degrees, not 2, if we continue. That's the result. We don't want that to happen with artificial intelligence. We build a machine that's more smart than all humans combined, we will not get another chance to rebuild. Right? Because it's, this is not a nuclear bomb, this is an algorithm. So, we're going to get climate emergency default in most countries. Climate emergency default means the rules are off. Extinction Rebellion, UK, times 1,000. Lufthansa just announced, after I talked to them about this for 500 years, they're going to actually charge a climate tax starting June this year, mandatory on the ticket. That takes a lot of guts. Nobody likes taxes, especially not Swiss people, right? So here, okay, there's a thing this is happening already. We could have a personal carbon allowance. You have your own little ticker, and whatever you use, you get over credits, you have to buy extra. Would you hate that? You probably would hate that just like you hate wearing a mask in COVID. Right? But this is something that's going to happen. Climate emergency, everywhere you see here a proposed frequent flyer tax, like for people that fly like me, which is 100 times a year, roughly. I'm the biggest sinner on climate in this regard. To pay more, the more you fly, the more you pay. First trip, 10 euros, 100th trip, 1,000 euros. And guess what? We could afford it. How much money would it raise? Enough money to pay for everything. Right? I mean, the solution is there. A tax on beef, on eating meat, would make perfect sense. Not making meat cheaper, so more people can eat it, or gas for that matter, for driving. The European Court says climate is a human right. So make no mistakes about this. We're going to hit emergency level every year earlier than we thought. And that will push through new legislation, new possibilities, new demands. And then in 10 years, we come out of this, this tight spot into a new way. Let's talk about AI. First, definition. Definition of AI is computer systems that turn information and data into knowledge. And since we are talking about education, how do you feel about that? If a computer system can have knowledge, what do we have? You know, wetware, as they saw, you know, it's like that's what we are. Organisms are algorithms, as some people say. Do you believe that? Are we just like a computer? Is a computer like us? What does it mean for education if a machine has knowledge? If a machine can drive cars, this is not quite happening, but pretty close. We thought it was close for the last 10 years. It didn't happen. It's complicated. Right? But a computer can fly an airplane. It can drive a car in principle, yes. We just need to figure out a few more things for that to happen. If we today build a new city, we would build it with self-driving cars. It would work just fine. No other cars. No human cars, right? That would, of course, be the prerequisite. This is where we're going. Humans doing routines to machines doing routines. This could be amazing because guess what? This would bring up productivity enormously if we actually shared the outcome of the productivity in terms of sharing the benefit. It would be amazing. 5x productivity, $17 trillion gained per year when we use artificial intelligence to make things smarter. If that money was actually shared, for example, for climate change. If it goes to the corporate bottom line, what are we getting? Yeah, we're going to get work just the same, just with AI. Profit increases, environment declines. Look at this graph showing basically the development of what AI can do compared to humans. So that's basically handwriting recognition, reading comprehension, grade school math, code writing. These are the numbers, up, up, up. None of these are at 100%. You know, when you talk to a machine, they don't get 100% of what you're saying. But it's getting very good. What happens when all of these are 100%? In every language. That is, as some people say, general intelligence. 5 years. That could be heaven, because again, we could finally let the machines do the monkey work. That would be good. Like, you know, if you're a doctor using AI, you can screen 100 million clinical trials for new learnings. If you're still going to make your own decision, right? That's the question, of course, that happens afterwards. But are we ready for this? Knowledge work to intertwine with machines. And then, you know, if the machine is too good, then it becomes what's called the black box. We don't know how it decides things. This is the doctor's problem, of course. The doctor says, the machine says, no, 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 the patient is dying, do this. And you say, I don't think patient is dying, I think he has another problem, but patient dies. Right? You're in trouble. So these things are going to happen everywhere now with machines. Very, very big topic, of course, as we go into that future, looking at the possibilities. So bottom line of this is, yes, we need science, technology, engineering, math, STEM, but the machines can do a lot of this work. The machines can be researchers, they can be scientists. In fact, they are already in medical discovery doing what's called protein folding and many other examples. So, what do we do in the future? We're going to do what machines can't do. I call it HECI. Humanity, ethics, creativity, imagination, intuition, storytelling, making stuff up, making mistakes, having fun. As Steve Jobs said, art and science. It's always going to be good to be a scientist, no doubt about that, but it's not going to solve all the problems that we have. We need to do what machines can't do. Machines don't exist. They don't have emotions, and they probably never will, and shouldn't. That's our job. We have to go beyond knowledge and education. I know this is a tall order. Because here we sit full of knowledge, like I am, sharing knowledge. But you have to remember that our knowledge is not machine knowledge. I'm not speaking to you quoting from a spreadsheet or looking at algorithms. I have a 360-degree view of the world. I see you, I hear you, I smell you maybe, right? All of these things. Right? This is what humans do. Machines don't do that. Machines have a 5 to 8% view of reality, of real life. We have to remember that. Machines don't know real life because they don't exist. That's our job. So in the ideal world, we'd have machines doing all the heavy lifting, the understanding of the numbers, the logic, and then we could act on top of it if we were smart enough to understand them. You see here the money that goes into artificial intelligence. This is the biggest money-raising effort ever. It is also a second arms race. China, US, maybe Russia. OpenAI, which is a company that makes ChatGPT, is now worth $86 billion. Just raised $9 billion again last week. And why is that? Because building a copy of humans, a digital entity, is probably the biggest business ever. And their open agenda of OpenAI, not open, really, closed AI, I would call them, their biggest agenda is to build an artificial general intelligence, to build a digital being, not a robot, a being, right? A conscious, reasoning being. This should not be okay when we think about who's in charge. This is like saying, I'm going to build a new kind of nuclear bomb, and when I have it, I will sell it to anyone that wants one. No, you're not, because it's a question of national security. It's a question of existential threat. Look at this. Prediction by Goldman Sachs showing 46 to 44% of jobs can be automated in sales, in admin, in legal. That's, of course, overdone. But, it's a banker's stat. You know the saying that if you torture data long enough, it will confess to anything. So you start with that agenda, then you can make the data look like it. But here's the thing. When we look at this, we say, okay, really what it is not just automation, it's also the other stuff. Cognification, I call it cava, like the Spanish champagne. Right. Cognification, that is the world becoming smart. Augmentation, using devices like the iPhone, and the iPad, and the Apple Pro. Virtualization, and then on top of that, this. So I call it cava, but you can check out my YouTube videos to explain. But the bottom line on this is really, as we're moving here, this is what's happening, right? Machines are going to do the routine. And this is what really impacts work and education. Do not let your kids learn anything that resembles a routine. Because sooner or later, the machine will learn it. The machine knows how to fly an airplane. We don't let it fly by itself because nobody likes the idea. The pilot says, oh, I work with the machine. But the reality is the machine does the job. And we have the human to supervise the machine, basically. And it's only 1 or 2 pilots. It's not 7. So there's no financial incentive to remove the pilot. But this is what's happening. In a few years, every doctor will use AI to analyze your body. And healthcare costs will decline dramatically. You can do that from home already using telemedicine. Saying I have my digital doctor and I only go to the doctor when I have to talk to somebody. This app called Sora from OpenAI makes movies. This is without a camera, without any examples, without any licensed content. I just put in a prompt and say, show me animals of the sea on bicycles. Makes it. That's called generative AI. This is Microsoft's commercial on this thing that they call the Copilot, which I'm sure you heard of. It's pushing very hard for this. That's exactly what it does, and it's using a rock music soundtrack to show you what kind of rock star you can be when you use AI. This is like textbook Silicon Valley or Seattle, I would say. I do a lot of speaking for Microsoft, so I'm not going to say anything bad about them, but basically this is what's happening.
We marveled at our own magnificence as we gave birth to AI.
AI? You mean artificial intelligence?
A singular consciousness that spawned an entire race of machines.
Greetings, I am Gerd Leonhard, public thinker and futurist, and this is my artificial intelligence avatar speaking on my behalf. No camera was used to record this. I don't know if this is amazing or just plain weird. What do you think? Χαιρετισμούς. Είμαι ο Gerd Leonhard και αυτό είναι το avatar της τεχνητής νοημοσύνης μου που μιλά εκ μέρους μου. Δεν χρησιμοποιήθηκε κάμερα για την καταγραφή αυτού. Δεν ξέρω αν αυτό είναι εκπληκτικό ή απλά περίεργο. Τι πιστεύεις? Grüße, ich bin Gerd Leonhard. Und hier spricht mein künstlich intelligenter Avatar in meiner Stimme.
Right?
Für die Aufnahme
I
wurde
didn't
keine
record
Kamera
this.
verwendet. Ich weiß
I
nicht,
made
ob
the
das
AI say
erstaunlich
it.
oder
It's
einfach
using
nur
my
komisch.
voice. It
Was
could say
meinen Sie?
anything.
Namaskar.
Like I said earlier, now it's even Hindi, right? So I can make all my videos in different languages, which is great. It's, it's not perfect, but it works. This could be heaven or hell, because if I'm the president of the United States and somebody has my avatar, it could end pretty badly. Right? And the problem is that we wouldn't necessarily know what to believe anymore when we look in this direction. All of a sudden, things becoming so markedly different. And this is what's happening now as a result when AI can do these things. Right? We're moving into a new world where this pyramid is cut short. This is the pyramid of work, knowledge. We're going to publish the slides later, so you'll get a good shot. But basically, this is now becoming machine turf. Not all of it, of course. I mean, I'd like to keep some knowledge and some information with me, obviously, but this is, if you're 15 years old, you know this. You've never lived without the internet. You get instant access to all of that stuff in every language. What is it? What's the human turf? That's the top part. Tacit knowledge, deeper knowledge, understanding, quiet knowledge, wisdom. This is what we have to teach our kids and our grown-ups and ourselves in the future of education. Not to compete with machines on data. We're not going to we're competing on data now. It still kind of works. Right? 5 years, over. It's instant data knowledge that we can get from machines. The future of human work is beyond data, beyond information and knowledge. Let's remember the Malawi saying, knowledge without wisdom is like water in the sand. A machine has knowledge, but it knows nothing. It doesn't understand anything. A machine does not think or feel. It does not have hunches. It doesn't understand. It can't be the UN Secretary General. It can't imagine. It can't care. People are openly propagating we should have, instead of politicians or CEOs, we should have AI. Because, they know everything. But in the end, they know 8 or 10% of our reality. This is why we have to have limits and say, well, it should do something, but not everything. This is our future. Clearly, we're moving into the future where our knowledge is tacit knowledge, unspoken knowledge, subjective, cognitive, non-codified, difficult to transfer. This is what our kids need to learn, how to make up stuff, how to be entrepreneurs, how to generate stories, how to resolve conflicts. Not how to program a computer. Always good how to know how to do that, right? Always. Just like, I'm a musician, it's always good to play an instrument, but at the same time, this is where we are going. This is what the future holds for us. Clearly, AI is now a general purpose technology. General purpose like fire, like the printing press, like the internet itself. Unescapable. What we need to do is to figure out how do we use the general purpose technology without using it to the extent that we become deauthorized. Watch the show here from Jon Stewart.
I hate to sound like
we don't have time to watch that now, but if you look for Jon Stewart, The Daily Show, he has a great episode on AI. It's about 15 minutes long with some great quotes, and we have to skip it for now, but you can watch that yourself on YouTube. So, important to remember about AI. The first part, intelligent assistance, that's what we have now. Smart email systems and Slack and reading PDFs and stuff. Okay, that's innovative. That's good. We don't want that to stop. We want disruptive technology to continue. What we don't want is a general intelligence, right? A machine that can surpass human capacity, uncontrollable, IQ of 1 billion. Why in the world would we spend hundreds of billions of dollars on building that? And why in the world are we not regulating this like we regulate nuclear power? We're starting to talk about it. This is primarily business issues. We're going to use that, and then it's going to change everything. That's why a company like OpenAI is a little bit like Blade Runner, the movie, 1982. Remember that movie? Amazing. the Tyrell Corporation that invented the replicants. OpenAI is kind of like this, like the company that could rule the world. The CEO of OpenAI says, the future of AI is the phenomenal ability to think, create, understand, and reason. Wait, just give me a minute here, okay? That's kind of what we do, right? We understand, we reason, we feel. Now we're going to invent a machine that does the same thing. Not a good idea. So, summarize. We are meant to be designers of the future. That's why in Europe we have the AI Act. That's why we think about larger things than the stock market. That's why we are humanists. We got to think about where that's going. Why we need an artificial intelligence agency to regulate. Not to regulate the hammer, which is software. Let the hammer do what it does. But to regulate the superpower. And that really makes a very big difference also to education. I'm going to skip ahead now, sorry about that. So, just give you some action items here. First, let's stop thinking about if and how we can do stuff. Let's think about why and who. Let's not think anymore, because the answer is, yes, we can. We can upload the brain, we can build a digital human, we can skip all that stuff altogether and just be a disembodied head in a Petri dish. Yeah, we can. Do we want that? Is that a good idea? Does it make money? Yes, it will make money, but will it make us happy? Very big question. This is the question for the UN, for us here in this room. Who will be mission control for humanity? And this is far beyond sustainability. This includes all of those exponential technologies. Who decides what is the right thing to do? And who's in charge? Very big question. For education, let's stop looking at this and saying, oh, the future will be bad, because we have wars, we have strange elections. Right? Let's think about this for a second. Barbara Hubbard, the futurist, says, as you see the future, so you act. As you act, so you become. That's called self-fulfilling prophecy. We cannot think of the future as being bad all the time. We have to think of the future as being potentially good. Because otherwise we end up in a place where we fulfill this ourselves. Very important. We need to resort to what Al Gore called 20 years ago, sustainable capitalism. In Europe we have social capitalism, if you can still call that capitalism. I don't know, these words are getting kind of out of style now in so many ways. We have to rethink our way of governance, right? And rethink how we control stuff. AI is a power tool. Who would not want to have a power tool if you're building something big? If you're a carpenter, you have a hammer and a nail. It will take a long time to finish a project. You have a nail gun, you shoot the nails. It will be a lot quicker. But the nail gun is dangerous. Same with AI. We have to use AI, but not use it to the effect where it becomes too dangerous. For education, it means this. If you work like a robot, you learn like a robot will take your job. If we teach our kids to be robots, they'll never have a job. That is our conclusion. I think that is what we have to change in education. We have to teach our kids not to become this, this nightmare nirvana of Mark Zuckerberg, where connection is everything. Connection is not everything. It's nice to be connected, but you can also be over-connected. Like the ITU's campaign on this topic for a long time. We have to think about this. We have to keep thinking, keep asking questions, staying critical, staying human. An old Cherokee Indian saying, the wolf you feed is the wolf that wins. We feed the companies that do bad things to humanity, whether it's environment or AI or technology, they will win. So let's stop feeding them. Let's put the money somewhere else. I take the old Facebook mantra from 10 years ago, Mark Zuckerberg, move fast and break things. They're still doing that, right? Breaking the things that we need to fix. So my new agenda is, let's move fast and fix things. Let's think about the future we want. Let's collaborate to build the good future. Thanks very much for listening.